Lord God, we thank you that you have promised to be with us always. Thank you that your presence is with us right now. Today, we give you our heart, our mind, and our lives. Come speak to your words of life in our beings. We pray that you could deepen our comprehension, border our thinking, and transform our understanding of what we are about to learn. For you are a wise counselor, a perfect teacher, and a faithful friend. Thank you, Lord, for making today's FTP a great success. We ask you to bless our guest speakers and all our faculty members, the attendees, and all the program coordinators who worked hard towards this 1 week FTP. We ask all
Narasimhan sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just a minute.
Yeah. Kindly mute your mic, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Shall I try once how to share the PPT?
Sir, kindly wait for some time, sir.
Okay.
Good morning to one and all present here. Good morning to one and all present here. Thank you for joining today's session. We will be starting our session shortly. Thank you for your patience. Nice good morning to one and all present here. I, Kalpana, I, Kalpana Chandrasekharan, Assistant Professor, BA and Languages Department of T. John College, Bangalore. Let's bring ourselves in the presence of God to invoke His blessings. Bless us infinitely for health, peace, success, and happiness in our lives. May we all observe the invaluable knowledge and experience and put them into practice, what we may learn today. Good morning once again. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome everyone for that. Now, I would like to call upon our beloved head of the department, Mrs. Nilanjana Bose, to deliver the welcome address.
A very good morning to one and all present here. One who dares to teach must never cease to learn. With this enlightening thought, I, Nilanjana Bose, HOD, BA in Languages Department of T. John College, would like to welcome you all to this session of the FDP titled Technical Pedagogy for Empowering Sustainable Advances in Higher Education. On behalf of T. John College organizing team, I have the pleasure of welcoming our chairman, Dr. Thomas P. John of T. John Group of Institutions, Administrator, Mr. Roy M. Raju, Principal, Sister Rosemary Balappa Ma'am, IQAC Director, Dr. Karthikeyan, Dr. Pelsi Judith, Convener and Senior Advisor, FDP TJC, all department heads and faculties. I also heartily welcome our esteemed guest speaker and resource person, Mr. Narsimhan of Vijaya Evening College. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
With great enthusiasm, I welcome all our participants from different colleges around the country for attending the fourth day of our FDP. Today's session will be led by Mr. Narsimhan, who will be speaking on the topic effective communicative skills for effective pedagogy. Now I would request Kalpana ma'am to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nilanjana.
Switch on your camera.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nilanjana ma'am, for your welcome speech. Now, I would like to heartily welcome and introduce our guest speaker of the day, Mr. Narasimhan. Welcome, sir. Introduction of speaker. Mr. Narasimhan is an associate professor and head of the Department of Vijaya Evening College, Basavangudi, Bangalore. He has 25 years of experience teaching English to students of PUC UG Polytechnic courses. Mr. Narasimhan has judged, reviewed, evaluated, and worked as paper setter for many autonomous universities and reputed colleges. He was member of textbook committee for all degree courses, BCom, BBA, BCA and BSc for Bangalore University and Bangalore Central University. He is an excellent speaker and has been a resource person for various workshops and seminars. His objective is to teach the subject effective enough to make the student learner inspired and motivated towards nobility, righteousness, self-elevation and social upliftment. To work for a healthy and creative work environment and to be supportive in all good endeavors. His educational qualifications are MA in Canada from Karnataka State Open University 2005, MA in English from Mysore University 1996, BA from Mysore University 1994. Welcome, sir. It's an honor to have you here to enlighten us with your knowledge. Dear all, please join me in welcoming our honorable guest speaker, Mr. Narasimhan. Over to Mr. Narasimhan.
Thank you so much for your good words, madam. Thank you so much. I'm really humbled by those words, which really mean a lot for me. Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to, pay my really, good words of respect to the so-called dignitaries of T. John College. Dr. Thomas P. John, Chairman TJGI, Sister Rosemary Balappa, Principal of T. John College, Dr. Karthikeyan C., IQAC Director, T. John College, Dr. Felsi Judith, Convener, T. John College, and my dearest colleague, and in T. John College, Professor Nilanjana Bose, and my dear good friend, Mr. Vijay Kumar of Psychology Department. It's really an honor to be associated with T. John College, which has been doing a sort of yeoman service to the field of education so many years now, and really it's an honor, for being a speaker today, for being a resource person today, to be amidst all my teaching faculty, teaching brothers and sisters here. Now, this online FDP aims at technical pedagogy for empowering sustainable advances in higher education. That's what is the theme that this FDP is meant for. Now, pedagogy is a wonderful word, dear friends. Now, it involves both teaching and learning as well. Now, these are the testing times for all of us, dear friends. Testing times because we are amidst pandemic, and since 16 to 17 months, really, we have been going through a very, very strange phase of learning and teaching. We had unheard of, for that matter, such devices. We had unheard of such platforms as well. In fact, we did not know much about the experiences of student, community as well in these online sessions. So I mean, these 16, 17 months, since March 2020, it has been a sort of revelation. It has been a period of challenges for all of us. Now, with the advent of national education policy, which is going to be implemented very soon in all our, curriculum, it is immediate, it is of immediate importance how we develop our skills as teachers and how we are going to hone the skills of our student friends as well. So national education policy has got its own acumen, its own vision for the future, how it has to go through the phases of higher education as well. And there are many challenges ahead in this journey in the implementation process itself. So I believe we need to redefine the art of teaching, the art of learning. In other words, we need to redefine pedagogy in itself. So both teacher and student will have to be on their toes, will have to be spruced up really, will have to be on their top gear to make this wonderful effort of learning a hugely successful and meaningful one, dear friends. So I would like to take this opportunity to get introduced to these things as well. Now, well, if I look at the technical pedagogy of empowering sustainable advances in higher education, the theme of the FDP. Now, what is this empowerment? How are we going to empower ourselves first and then students or learners next? Now, what is this empowerment? How are we going to empower? Who is to be empowered here? And why this empowerment at all? These are some of the questions, very elementary questions we need to ask ourselves. I mean, if I look at the topic which has been selected for this session of mine, effective communication skills for effective pedagogy, how to make our classes interesting. I could be a history teacher, I could be an English teacher, I could be a Hindi teacher, or I could be teaching psychology or mathematics, my dear friends, or it could be management classroom, or it could be a physics classroom, or it could be an engineering classroom. Wherever you go, wherever you are a teacher, you will have somebody who needs to be taught and who needs to be learned as well by you. And we need to have excellent communication skills, whatever could be the subject that we deal with. Now, I believe all of you will agree with me, I hope, and I strongly believe that communication skills going forward will be an inseparable entity, in the lives of all those learners. So we have a great sense of responsibility. We need to act with great sense of responsibility as well in empowering students, in empowering the future of this country, in empowering the future of society, in empowering the future of this citizens of the world, dear friends. That is the global picture. We are not really empowering, our students alone. We are not just, empowering the students of Vijaya Evening College or T. John College, dear friends. We are looking at a bigger picture. How are we going to contribute to society with brimming, confident youngsters who are educated, needless to say, in various streams, in science, in arts, in management, in every sphere of life. Also, we need to tell them how to hone their skills of communication. That is what I am going to deal with in today's, celebration of the topic. I really mean this word celebration because I mean every such webinars or every such session, online FDPs really, they have been doing it here. So many colleges have been doing it since 16, 17 months. And I really take this opportunity to congratulate all those colleges which have held, which have been holding such sessions even now. And one such college is T. John College, dear friends. So let me start my PPT with the permission of my friends over there. Shall I, screen my PPT, dear friends?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Hope it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Hope I am also audible to you. Yeah. Thank you. My dear friends, we have right before us effective communication skills for effective Should I share it again?
Yeah, sir. Please share it once again.
Now?
It's visible, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Dear friends, now where to experiment this, how to empower and how to show our prowess here. Now, classroom is my first slide. That is the title of my first slide. Now I have taken this very simple and very direct, title for this slide, classroom, because classrooms are our, place of karma, my dear friends. We call it karma bhumi, my dear teachers. For teachers, especially for the faculty, this is the place where we are given a little bit of freedom, a little bit of power to show what we are academically, how we can enthuse our students, how we can influence our students, the learners as well. And this is where we can teach, this is where we can learn as well, dear friends. So this is the first theme, this is the first slide, classroom, which otherwise is called a karma bhumi for all of us. Now look at the first point there, real, virtual and ideal. Now, what is the real classroom? Real classrooms, we are very, very adept with, and we are very familiar with the real classrooms, the walls, the furniture, and all our dear friends, learners sitting before us, and we doing the job of a teacher. That is the real classroom, which we are craving for right now. Right now, we are craving for offline classes, the good old classrooms that we used to have, earlier, pre-pandemic, season, my dear friends. Now, what is this virtual classroom? Now, virtual classroom is the classroom which we have been familiar with since 16, 17 months, since March 2020, to be very precise, rather. Virtual classrooms were also classrooms. In fact, they were the ones which really enabled us to conduct those classes, to put forward our views, to do all those lessons of all the subjects, dear friends, and how that is the virtual classroom where our student friends also learned their own bit. Now, what is the third one? Ideal classroom. Which is the ideal classroom? The classroom of our dream, rather. Which is my dream classroom? Well, my dream classroom and our dream classroom would be that place where successful and meaningful interaction takes place between the teacher and the learner. Now, I am very, very, very sure about using the word the teacher and the taught. Most of the times, we teachers, as teachers, we teach. And as teachers, we also learn at times from our friends sitting before us. Normally, it so happens, we are very, very sure about what we are doing. We will be doing our lessons, my dear friends. We'll be showing some slides, presenting some PPTs there in the classrooms. Well, at times, we will have enough scope to learn from students as well. And more often than not, students themselves will learn a lot from you as well. The ideal classroom is such a classroom wherein interaction takes place successfully. That is why I call this classroom can be divided into three different, genres: real classroom, virtual classroom, and ideal classroom. Be it whatever, among these three, communication skills are of utmost importance. Now, what is the second point? Learner-centric. Now, all our efforts should be in terms of making the place of learning a very comfortable place, a cozy place, a very useful place for the learner. It has to be learner-centric, dear friends. It has to be learner-centric. Now, teacher, by imparting education, by imparting that valuable information, invaluable, importance as well for that, he will also be learning, she will also be learning, the students themselves will be aware of what they are supposed to learn from the teacher. Now, the third thing is, which is exactly what is going to happen, what should happen between the teacher and the taught. Communication skills aim at interaction between the two. Unless you have very meaningful interaction between the two, definitely it's of no use whether we do whatever lesson we want to in the classroom. Now, this need-based pedagogy. Now, I need to understand what is useful more for my student. What is really his or her need? What is the requirement? For example, we are talking about higher education in our classes. And after 3 years completing their graduation, even after completing their masters as well, after 3 or 5 years then completing their higher education, they will have to get into the industry as well. They will have to get into the world of market, the world of trade, the world of real challenges. Now, how are we going to equip them? How are we going to make them ready, industry ready or job ready? That should also be in my mind as a teacher. So therefore, I am very, very sure about using that fourth point, need-based pedagogy. What is the requirement of my student? Is he very good in English? For example, I am an English teacher. Is he really good at English skills, writing skills, or for that matter, learning skills or reading skills? Whatever. I should know how good he is in terms of historical facts, in terms of current affairs. These are the things that need to be observed by the teacher, no matter what you teach. Next thing is focus on skill sets. I mean, you would really agree with me, my dear faculty friends. Now, these skill sets are of different genre, my dear friends. We need communication skills, we need soft skills, we need organizational skills, we need computer skills. There are so many skill sets, writing skills as well. So how are we going to tap on these skill sets? So focus should be on them as well. For example, if I am doing a sum in mathematics, I should know very well how good are my students in making the calculations. Are they using the calculator? Are they using technology? Are they making the best use of technology available? Are they using their own manual way of doing that? Now, that is another observation which needs to be made by the teacher. Now, teacher has got many roles to play, my dear friends. You will also agree with me. Teacher is a pedagogue. A pedagogue is the one who teaches, and he is a facilitator. Now, more often than not, we should never teach, dear friends. That's what my honest opinion is. In the 60 minutes class, in 1 hour class, really, in 1 hour session, probably I would really, expect my dear friends who are teachers here to give ample time, ample space for the students to learn, to observe themselves. Well, they need a helping hand from my end. Therefore, I call teachers facilitators. They need to make the classroom a very enjoyable facility for learners to learn. At times, we need to guide them. For those who are lagging behind, for those who need proper guidance, we are always there. And at times when students are pretty knowledgeable, they are very knowledgeable in terms of information. If they are very well informed, well, our role will be that of a friend. We need to counsel them. We need to do a friendly, job there, a friendly role there. That is how we need to shift the gear. And we are a moderator at times. At times, in those classes, especially in language classes, you can bring in some groups there. I understand, the strength really matters in a classroom. Strength do really, matter. But if it is possible, if it is really feasible, make some activities in the classroom which can really make the learning more enjoyable. It will be a fun as well. It will be more interesting. The classroom situation will become much lighter and enjoyable. And that is where a teacher can become a moderator. And sometimes teachers will have to listen to what students have to say. And that is exactly what the next role to be played by the pedagogues, the teachers. And he has to demonstrate certain qualities, dear friends. Can we ever deny that? Can we ever deny that teachers are demonstrators? We demonstrate too many things in the classroom. In the classroom, the way we walk, the way we stand, the way we sit, the way we pose ourselves, the way we present ourselves, the way we show our body language, the way we show our confidence, the way we look at our students, making eye contact with the students, all these matters are of supreme importance. Well, that's why I call teacher as a demonstrator. He needs to demonstrate not only academic, lessons here or academic, pursuits here, but also other skills that he has, other, wonderful powers that he has in terms of academics, in terms of, making him a good teacher. So therefore, demonstrating good body language in itself is a great lesson for the students. Well, above all, we are educators. And before we educate others, we need to be educated as well. I'm not talking about just, the degrees that we really earn from those universities. We also gain by experience as teachers. If you spend some time, wonderful time amidst students, well, that will give you supreme confidence how to go about and how to get ready for the next session, for the next class. And that is how, I would like to end this first, slide and different role plays in the classroom. Well, this is the next one. What is communication? After all, I'm talking about effective communication skills. It becomes my responsibility to let you know about different definitions. What is this communication? To put it in simple words, dear friends, the process of sharing the information or the message that produces response. For example, if I'm a teacher teaching historical lesson or a fact, or if I'm a teacher, doing some, photosynthesis in the classroom, or doing some language activity in the classroom, or if I'm doing a sum in the classroom, I should be really very conscious about the response which I'm expecting from the students. So communication is a process of sharing the information that produces response. Any information given by you will always be incomplete if it does not really evoke interest or response. It has to be, it can be negative response, it can be, an argumentative response, whatever it may be. There should be some sort of interest that could be seen on the faces of the learners. So that's why that is communication first. What is the next definition? Transmission of information from one person, group, company, organization to another. It's a simple, definition of communication. One information transmitted, or for that matter, goes from one person, sender, to the receiver. Exchange of ideas, expressions, feelings, thoughts through words and actions. I mean, that is the elementary duty of a communication process. We exchange ideas. We exchange different expressions. It could be the expressions, facial expressions as well. It could be the frown on my face. It could be the smile on my face. It could be the neck movement of my, my body as well. And it could be the responses from my student friends. I could understand the feelings, the thoughts through words and actions. That is what, I'm talking about. It could be verbal communication, or it could be non-verbal communication. Well, at the end, you have the social process by which people in a specific context. Now, this is a very important juncture, dear friends. I call it specific context. Now, for me, a BA classroom has to be different from a BCom classroom or a management classroom or a BSc classroom, dear friends. Simply because my strategies, my game plans, or for that matter, my way of looking at those students will have to undergo at least some change when I enter those classrooms. There are different sections, in a college like T. John College, they must be having some umpteen number of, sections there, or, classrooms there, wherein you will see different sets of students with different entities, with different mindsets, with different levels of understanding. So each and every classroom is a different context, my dear friends. So therefore, I'm very, very conscious here, very sure about using this. It is, and it means we are using symbolic behavior, because man is a social animal. We're all social animals, my dear friends. We need to have something to converse, something to share, and that is what language gives us. That is what, information gives us. So this is, these are the simple definitions of communication. Now, the second part of my, topic is effective communications for effective pedagogy. What is pedagogy? Pedagogy is a fabulous word. It's a fantastic word to use in our repertoire, in our day-to-day usage, my dear friends, academically. What is this pedagogy? Who is a pedagogue? It involves methods of teaching and learning. Now, each and every teacher who has assembled in this session, each and every participant here, if at all he or she is a teacher, you will have your own methods of teaching and learning as well. Student will have his or her own sense and own method of learning. It is not mandatory to learn in a particular manner. Whichever way is comfortable for a learner, whichever way is comfortable, cozy for the student, well, he or she should be given the freedom to learn in such a manner. So even likewise, teachers have their own pattern of teaching. So in a classroom, the teacher is the most powerful person, because I'm very sure when I'm using the word powerful here, not in the derogatory sense, not in the wrong sense, my dear friends. I really want to give him the power of, understanding the students, the student mentality, understanding the need of the students and delivering the same. That is why I call it the power to understand and power to deliver what is required. So pedagogy involves different methods as well. It determines student-faculty relationship. Isn't it so, dear friends? You might have seen your own students coming across you and sharing some lighter moments with you, showing some good words of respect to you, greeting you every morning, every afternoon, every evening. That is a fantastic rapport which we can have between teacher and student. It determines student and faculty relationship. If I am a good teacher, if I am a good pedagogue, no matter what I can teach history, I can teach economics, I can teach sociology, English, Hindi, Kannada, or whatever, my dear friends. Well, that pedagogic method will determine whether you are appreciated by the students. This has been my practice. I'm always, in terms of showing my great respect to the ability of the students. Whether they are, students who are lagging behind in their academic, excellence, performance, or whether they are ranked students, I don't mind. I really give respect to each and every soul in my classroom. I really, congratulate them, appreciate them, even for a very small thing which they do, even for a very small achievement which they do. Still, it is a matter that goes a long way in deciding our relationship. So we need to have a great rapport, understanding with the teacher, with the students as well. It augurs new academic practices. For example, who thought before March 2020 that one fine day we will have to use Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, or for that matter, Zoom classrooms? Who would have thought that, there comes a day in my life wherein I will be sitting in my living room and students will be sitting in their own living rooms, wherever they are comfortable, wherever the network feasibility is available. And we never had this idea. We have so many academic practices also, how to make our classrooms interesting. It augurs, this pedagogy augurs means, it really portends new academic practices. It's not just like, holding a textbook and reading out the lessons for them, or, using a piece of chalk and writing something on board as well. We need to communicate. We do communicate through writing on the board. We do communicate, by showing them slides. We do communicate by talking to them, establishing a good understanding ability. And broadly, I would say pedagogy is the art and science of teaching. My dear friends, let me tell you straight from my heart, teaching is an art. Learning in itself is an art. It is a science which needs to be understood, which needs to be analyzed, learned in a particular manner. Once you learn the art and science of teaching, you become the master of teaching, dear friends, and that's where confidence grows. And that's why each and every teacher will have his or her own styles of, teaching as well. Now, the next point is understanding curriculum, presenting it. Well, I should know, what do I have in the content of my textbook? What do we have in the syllabus? What do we have in the curriculum, rather? What needs to be told in the classroom and what needs to be told on the ground where students are seen playing there? Students can be met, can be seen in the classrooms, can be seen in the library, can be seen in the canteen, can be seen on the playground. We happen to meet them. We happen to meet them even in labs. Now, there are places where we meet students, rather, even outside college, rather. When we happen to meet them, there is a particular way of transmitting or telling something. It doesn't mean that, I will have to inform my student only in the classroom. Pedagogy takes place only in the classroom. That is a myth. That is a myth. Pedagogy can take place even outside classrooms, dear friends. That is an important point to be, made here. Pedagogy can take place anywhere once you have the teacher and the taught. So we need to understand that what needs to be taught and how we are going to present it. And I should be very sure of that. I should be confident of using my tactics. The end you have, it involves teaching, guidance, instruction, analysis, critical thinking, appreciation. Well, I forgot to mention one more thing. Pedagogy is not necessarily only about teaching and learning. Sometimes we need to unlearn certain things as well. We may have our own, ways of looking at facts, stand corrected by our own students or by our own colleagues in the department or else for the matter. Well, I should really start unlearning whatever has been learnt by me. And a teacher, unless he or she is a good learner, can never become a teacher, dear friends. And that is where we develop the skill of analysis, critical thinking, and by being good teachers, by being good guides, by being good instructors, and by being, good analysts ourselves, critically, acclaimed thinkers as well, and by appreciating the smaller things done by those students, we can never become teachers. Well, these are some of the slides for communication and pedagogy. Well, I would really look at communication more in this session because that is the core idea of this session. Now, what are the types of communication, dear friends? Well, it can be formal. More often than not, in the college scenario, in the varsity, in the university, or in the campus scenario, it will be formal in the classrooms. It can get semi-formal as well, and it can be informal at different places. It depends on the place where you actually meet. And some of the communication process can take place with the help of verbal and with the help of non-verbal expressions. Now, what is verbal communication? Verbal means using words, communication made with the help of words, dear friends. It can be oral communication through your mouth, or it could be written. When you write something, when you type something, it is obviously a verbal, example there. Now, what about this non-verbal, communication? They are through expressions. When I am happy with one of, the successful attempts made by one of my students in answering a question, I will have a smile on my face. I don't have to open my mouth and say a few words. Well, the student will understand the expression on my face. So I can express, lot of things, even without opening my mouth, even keeping my, lips closed, tight. I can express so many things through my non-verbal expressions and gestures. So it can be business communication, it could be corporate communication, and today we have also organizational communication. Now, this point is precisely for those management students or commerce students or so-called BBA or MBA students. Today, business communication has acquired a lot of importance. Corporate offices have their own versions of communication, their own types of communication. And in any organization, in any office, an employee is expected to communicate in a particular manner. And that is why I called need-based learning and need-based teaching. So that's why we need to understand, we need to prepare these students, these wonderful, people, my dear friends, who are called students, for the world future. And, in communication, it will be one-way communication sometimes, and it will be two-way communication sometimes. Well, in a classroom scenario, most of the time it will be one-way communication. A teacher will be addressing the students more often than not, and the students will be listeners for most of the time in the class. And sometimes in a question-answer session, there will be room for even two-way communication. I say something and you also give a counter argument for mine, and that is where a wonderful communication take place. So well, the downward and upward communication, these things come in a corporate level, from superiors to the mid-level management. If there is any communication, that is called downward, and if the mid-level management wants to communicate with the superiors, it is called, well, upward communication. Well, in a very simple manner. Now, what do these skills include? What are these communication skills? What are the prerequisites to make myself excellent communicator? How to make myself an excellent communicator? How to make my student an excellent communicator? Well, I will have to lay emphasis on four important things, dear friends. One is listening, the other one is speaking, the next one is reading, the fourth one being writing. We simply call them as LSRW. LSRW, they are the important, versions of communication skills. Listening skills, very crucial. Speaking and reading, both are extremely very crucial. Writing, in fact, will help you go a long way in your career. That will be a deciding factor for you, dear friends. Now, let us examine these four LSRW in a very, very, detailed manner. Now, what is this listening all about? Listening is, accurate perception or accurate understanding of what is being communicated. Unless, well, you could be a good teacher, you will be doing a fabulous job in the classroom, and if your students are not well equipped with perception level, well, all your efforts will go in vain, dear friends. So therefore, listening skills will have to be spruced up. So what is listening? It is an accurate perception of what is being communicated. They will have to understand in a particular manner. Well, you can always give them the freedom of understanding things in their own fashion, but they should not misread it. That's it. Now, listening is hearing, understanding, retaining, and recalling. Whenever they want, they should really recall it. Recalling happens only when they're able to retain whatever they have heard, whatever they have listened to. And that is extremely important, especially now that the examination oriented courses are much in vogue. Therefore, this point is very crucial. Listening is a mental activity, whereas hearing is a physical one. There is a slight difference between the two words, listening and hearing. Listening involves, a lot of concentration, lot of attention, focus as well. Whereas hearing is just a passing one. It is more of physical, whereas listening is a mental activity. So, well, the next one is you will have to use your ears properly. Possible through observations, hence use of eyes for non-verbal communication. The eyes are very crucial for the students because they'll be watching the teacher, they'll be watching the slides as well. So along with the ears, their eyes should always be very careful because they will be learning through observations. So that is very crucial, and a skill rarely developed but a significant one. Normally, I must say this, my dear friends, being an English teacher, being a language teacher, we are not really encouraging the students as we should be in terms of listening skills, in terms of, improving their listening skills. We should give them ample space for listening as well. And a good listener can become a very good communicator. Now, how to improve listening? Well, I spoke about the challenge, and I also have a suggestion for you. I also have some, tips for how to improve your listening skills. Well, keeping quiet while listening. Well, I understand students will be very chirpy, very noisy at times, if they are huge in number. Well, if you can establish a good rapport with the students, if you are the master of your subject, no matter what you teach, if you are the master of the subject, if you have a good rapport with the students, if you know the names of students, for example, that is another strategy which a teacher can employ, then definitely by keeping silent or quiet, they will improve their listening skills. Put the speaker at ease. Well, it's not always the teacher who has to speak. You can just call a student, make a student stand up and allow him or her to speak. You should give lot of importance for the speaker, whoever it could be. And if possible, remove distractions, and should be open-minded as well. And well, I would here like to request all my teacher friends here to be open-minded, not very, very reserved in nature. Flexible, flexibility is something which is desirable. And by being rigid, we actually hamper the prospects of classroom learning. That is another important thing. And listen first and take notes later. You can always tell your students, to listen to your lecture first, to listen to your words first, and then if possible, they can, if they really want to, they can always have notes there, make notes there. And sometimes if the teacher himself or herself makes the lecture more endearing and interesting, there will be no room for making notes there. So that is another challenge. So encourage them to ask questions and let them also show interest in you, and you also should really reciprocate. Unless the teacher shows interest in the students or in students' efforts, well, this becomes an incomplete process, dear friends. Now, after listening skills, we have speaking. Now, what is speaking? Well, speaking is oral communication with words. We always, know that very well. It's important for both speaker and listener. Well, I need to speak properly, clearly, and I need to understand the cultural background as well. For example, if I have a student coming from Tamil Nadu or coming from Ghana or coming from, Mizoram for that matter, or North India, well, I need to understand how I can really present my English speaking skills. For example, I'm an English teacher. How am I going to reach a Mizoram student? How am I going to reach, a Malayalam student? I know very well they know English. Understandably, they know English, but their way of looking at English is entirely different. You should look at the accent as well. Used greatly in day-to-day life, it could be speaking and talking. Normally, in talking, it is always conversation. You will have not less than two. Whereas in speaking, one will be addressing the other. Faster and quicker because of immediate reaction. LSRW, among these four, speaking is faster because it gets you immediate response. You can get the feedback. Even if students do not open their mouth, by looking at their body language, by looking at their expressions, you can very well understand, are you going in the right direction or not? Well, speaking ability will be tested more in interviews, dear friends, and group discussions as well, presentation. We should never forget even for a moment that we are training, we are preparing our students for future challenges and endeavors. And interviews, GDs and presentation sessions will be those important sessions for which we need to prepare them. And in all those sessions, speaking skill of a student will be tested. Speaking skills of a candidate will be tested. And a combination of confidence and intellectual competence with word power. Now, this is a wonderful power which a teacher and a student both can have. I was talking about the power of a teacher in a classroom. What is that power all about? The power of a teacher is the power of word, my dear friends, the power of speaking. Even the student will have to be enthused in having that word power. You should really make the student stand up and speak what he has got in his mind. Speak your mind. Are you happy with the teaching? Are you happy with the concept? Are you really happy with the sum or the manner in which we have done the sum? If you have any questions, encourage them. That is how we need to tap those speaking skills. Now, how to improve the skills of speaking here? Well, we need to make them organized. We need to make them organized in a patterned way, and we should look at the content as well. See, if I want to speak on, say, for example, communication skills, I should know my content, the context as well. I should have the delivery pattern. What should be my voice modulation? What should be my variation? How should be my body language? How should I use my neck? How should I use my eyes? The delivery pattern, the speaking skills is very crucial. For example, you might have come across many students who would say, sir, ma'am, we are not very comfortable coming onto the stage and using the platform and thereby looking at the audience, speak. It's very impossible for us. We have the problem of stage fear. We're afraid to look at the people. These are some of the delivery syndromes. They have that fear of facing people. Now, a teacher is the only person in a classroom who can really get rid of that problem from the students. So you should look at the body language, expression, friendliness. If I'm a very good speaker with very poor body language, with very poor expression, with an unfriendly gesture, well, I would be an incomplete speaker, dear teachers, dear friends. So my speaking skills, though they are exceptional, will have to be embedded, will have to, encompass even these things: body language, expression, friendliness. Well, speaking skills include even question answer session. It could be feedback or interactive session. I would be hoping for an interactive session even, after this session as well today. But even in the classrooms, every day we need to ask them question after question, and we need to make them ask questions to us. By asking questions, they will develop that confidence. They will get rid of that fear as well. And that is how they develop confidence and overcome fear. And also, they will learn where to use which word. The choice of words, I would call it in English, diction. Diction is a wonderful word. I should know very well where to put which word and why and to whom. So speaking skills are of utmost importance. Now, after listening and speaking comes the next one, reading. Have we forgotten that art of reading in the classrooms, my dear friends? Have we really allowed our students to read those passages if it is a theory class? Well, reading involves speed, slow, rapid reading and scanning. Well, in scanning, there are different ways of reading a book or, any magazine or anything for that matter, any text. You can scan for a particular detail, or you can just browse, you can skim through pages as well. Some of them are very rapid learners, and it depends on the speed. Some of them are very slow readers as well. Never mind. Among your 60 or 40 or 80 students, you can't expect everyone to read exceptionally. You should encourage every reader, every student to read in his or her own fashion, no matter how many mistakes they commit. So the next one is comprehension. Reading involves comprehension. If you just ask a student to read, and if he or she does read without comprehending, without understanding, well, that needs to be discouraged and allow them to know what they read, to understand what they read, and then tell them the benefits of that. So reading involves efficiency, retention, recall, purpose. It also improves, one's memory power as well. The more you read those newspapers, or for that matter, texts of different subjects, really, if you start some of the texts of history or economics, or for that matter, biology, whatever, no matter what is the theory, then you will also improve your memory skill, because you would have come across lot many words as well, lot many words. And you would also come across the spelling there. The spelling is going to help you in the next skill, that is writing. I will come to that later. What are the techniques of reading? Well, ask the students to read actively. Well, that is of crucial importance. Well, if I ask one of the students, I have got that experience with my students as well. If I ask a couple of students, they will just read those words, but it will not be an active reading. There will be no involvement in that. It will just be a passive reading, a very uninterested one, So we should always encourage, the students to learn through reading as well. Some of them could be enjoying loud reading. Some of them could be enjoying silent reading as well. Both are having their own benefits. Well, we should fix time schedule for reading as well. It depends on the person and the individuals as well. Well, in the classroom situation, concentration on content and speed as well. That's important. Quick and silent reading, we did that. Slow and steady, loud reading. Well, if you ask me my opinion between loud reading and silent reading, well, I would really encourage teachers to employ this method of loud reading in the class, because they will come to know the biggest benefit, the greatest advantage in loud reading is the candidates, the students will be able to hear what they speak. They will be able to hear the pronunciation themselves. So even others will be looking at them, trying to listen to them as well. So loud reading will allow us to correct ourselves and will allow us to excel further. So we need to pay attention to symbols and punctuation marks. Well, this is very, very important in terms of language material. We need to look at the commas, we need to look at the question marks. If I ask anybody to read a poetic stanza, read a poetry, read a drama, a dialogue between the two characters, we need to know about the punctuation marks, if it is a comma, if it is a semicolon, or if it's a question mark, or if it is an exclamatory mark as well. So we will have different ways of sounding as well. So we have a great essayist by name Francis Bacon, who was an exceptional scholar. He once said, reading maketh a full man. By exceptionally, we will be full men, because in a sense, we will be full men academically. That's what Francis Bacon meant. Dear friends, let us come through this fourth one, writing, pattern here. LSRW includes listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. What is writing skill? In writing, we consider purpose and expectations of the reader. For example, if a student wants to write an answer for a particular question in the internal test or preparatory examination or in the final examination, he should really consider the purpose of writing his answer and expectations of the reader. In terms of valuation, the readers will be the teachers themselves. We are the ones who will be evaluating those answers. Now, you should tell the student what is expected of your answer. For example, I'm not talking about just answers in the examination. You can always encourage the students to become exceptional writers. They could write plays, they could write poetry, they could write stories as well. But they should consider the purpose. What is the purpose of writing this one? Am I writing this for marks? Am I writing it for appreciation, recognition? That is very crucial. Bridge the gap between the minds of the writer and the reader. I mean, by writing those wonderful answers using exceptional words, diction, my dear friends, very expensive words, or simple words, my dear friends, you'll be bridging the gap between the minds of the writer and the reader. So writer could be the student and reader could be the teacher, vice versa as well. You should create a record, and writing itself is a record. It's an authentic document. More often than not, speaking and listening could be considered not so authentic, whereas writing is more authentic than them. It is a best method of all as it goes beyond oral communication because it is documented. It's more authentic. In oral communication, you can flip, you can deny, whereas in writing, if you give it in writing, definitely it will be considered a legal document. And it could be handwritten or e-writing as well. Nowadays, we are in the zone of e-writing as well. Now, what do we do? What do we look at? How do we look at this effective writing? Writing is one of the tools of communication skills. Now, how are we going to make our writing effective? Short, simple sentences. Well, for a student, this is how we need to start. Well, if you are writing your answer for 5 marks or 10 marks or 6 marks or 2 marks, you should know the limit. I mean, you're writing it for marks as well. Well, if you're writing it for appreciation, that is a different issue. Well, if you're writing it for examination, I should know very well how to make my answers understandable, perceivable for the valuer or the reader. Selection of words familiar to the target readers. This, in fact, is for the teachers themselves. Most of the time, in my presentation, if I use a word, for example, in a classroom where students are not aware of that word, well, I should avoid it, or if possible, I can tell the meaning of that word, introduce the word to my dear students as well. So I must be very selective using my words while writing. The third point is we can avoid using jargons as well. Now, jargons are technical terms, not widely understood everywhere for that matter. It could be understood by a set of people. Also, I should avoid slang use or non-native. For example, in my answer, to be evaluated by an Indian teacher, if I use an American slang or a German slang, well, I will be doing a huge injustice to the reader here. So that's why I need to understand the need, the requirement. So as far as possible, it's better to avoid these two in our writing. Clear words, simple words are the same. Using appropriate grammar and punctuation marks. This is very crucial in terms of writing. Yeah, we may escape from punishment in terms of listening, speaking, and reading, my dear friends. Whereas we cannot ignore the importance of grammar, punctuation marks in writing skills. So as teachers, we must really, make it a matter of importance for the candidates, for the students, to look into this grammar part very, very crucially. So how should be my writing? It should be coherent. I mean, I should be looking at all those words meaning the same, looking at the single topic there. There should be clarity. There should not be any vague idea presented there. The reader has to clearly understand what you want to say. Brevity means being very brief and concise. Readability. Well, if you are writing, if it is a handwritten presentation, if it is an answer written in your answer booklet in an examination hall, it has to be legible. It has to be readable. That's important. The same Francis Bacon, who said something about reading, reading maketh a full man. He said something about writing also. Writing makes us exact. Writing makes us perfect. Writing makes us perfect. Therefore, nobody can deny the importance of, the writing factor. Well, coming to the last part of, my session here, communication we have seen, through listening, reading, speaking and writing. Communication can be through even others, non-verbal things as well. Look at the 4 important highlighted words there, a small definition there given as well. It could be very useful. Well, it has become very useful already for many of us really. Well, just to bring it to the notice of my dear friends here, kinesics. Kinesics, my dear friends, today is a wonderful employment in the classroom. What is kinesics? It is a scientific study of gestures and other body movements. Ray Birdwhistell says that. It is one of his definitions, given to kinesics. Now, what does this mean? It is a study of gestures, expressions of body movements. For example, if my, eyelashes or eyeballs move around, if I, neck movement does go this way or that way, if I start using my fingers or hands, arms, my shoulders, everything means something. And the study of these things is called kinesics. Now, the next one is proxemics, study of the effects of physical distance or space, by Edward T. Hall. Now, what is proximity? Proximity is, something related to distance that you maintain in the classroom between the teacher and the student. Now, honestly, I feel I should really have a very good rapport with my students. Therefore, my point of, looking at it is, I normally use this, ploy in the classroom. I just go around. I just get, mixed with the students. I just go around the students as well. I go to each and every student, if possible, and look at them or look at him or her and establish my proximity there. Physical proximity also matters. Well, if you maintain a distance, if you stay on the platform or on the stage, and if you allow students to stay at a distance, that also communicates something else. It could be positive, it could be negative. Students may feel discouraged as well if they come to know that teacher doesn't want to come to us. Then definitely that will be a sort of speck. Therefore, proxemics is something which we need to understand in terms of communication. What is haptics? So haptics is normally the study of touch behavior. Now, haptics is also very popular among the teaching methods for special children. Specially abled children, my dear friends, and it is employed there. But I would be very sure of saying this, haptics can be employed even in our classrooms. The way we go to our students, rather carefully, with a sense of responsibility. If I just give a pat on the back of a student for his wonderful answer, for his wonderful argument, for wonderful point rather, then that really goes to decide the rapport, decide the relationship as well. So therefore, haptics, the study of touch behavior, how you are going to use your touch skills as well. Well, that needs to be done with a sense of responsibility. I reiterate on that. And the fourth one is paralanguage. What is this paralanguage, especially in terms of communication? How communication is done? Articulation. You could use, the manner in which you can see right now, my dear friends, I will be using my eyes, I will be using my lips, I'll be using my cheeks, my neck movement, everything here. Now, every organ in my body has come into action, and to make this wonderful job a successful one. Even in the classrooms, even in our karma bhumi, my dear friends, we need to use this articulation. You need to use the words very cleverly, carefully, so that the information is correctly imparted, not wrongly. Pronunciation is the key. Right now, I definitely feel if you are an English teacher, definitely we use Indian English, my dear friends, as we all know, in the entire world today, Indian English speaking in itself has got a sort of recognition. So that is one thing. The pitch really matters. The vocal cords, the pitch level of the teacher really matters. Otherwise, you will never be able to reach, the students. Of course, nowadays you may have, a microphone as well, some of the gadgets available in classroom, so that, it will make your job that much more easier. The volume, the tone, the pause as well, the pause. Allow students to understand, digest with those meaningful pauses at times in your communication. So if you don't give that room for understanding, if you don't provide them with that space for understanding, well, if you are in a hurry to complete the argument or point, well, you are missing a ploy there. Well, tone and speed are the other important, thing there. Well, this is the last one, rather, approaches to pedagogy. Now, this slide is made by me just to give a thought for all my dear friends here assembled here, how to look about it, because you can always get these points on Google as well. These are just starters for all of us to learn more about pedagogy, because today's session was more on communication skills in pedagogy, to make teaching and learning more successful one, more effective one. So just to give a starter like thing for you, I have added this slide as my last slide. Well, there are many approaches to pedagogy. Pedagogy in higher education is different from pedagogy in school education. Pedagogy for those special children is entirely different. But right now we are concentrating on higher education. Well, constructive one, that is the first approach, getting knowledge through direct experience. That is true. In every case, that is true, my dear friends. We learn through experience ourselves. And we should encourage the students to learn through experience also. If I tell them something about morality, if I tell them something about social responsibility, for example, during COVID-19, in this COVID-19 situation, in this pandemic season, if I make a lecture of 1 hour on social responsibility, well, I'm no doubt helping them, enlightening them to certain things. But if they are already experiencing that social responsibility in the real life scenario, that is a constructive pedagogy. So getting knowledge through direct experience is a very, very valuable one. And the next one, collaborative. It promotes deep learning through discussion, social interaction. Yeah, I would not say collaborative technique is required by all. Well, there are certain students in our classrooms who require optimum help from teachers. They expect us to help more and more. For example, it could be helping them out by giving notes, or it could be helping them out, by talking to them specially or exclusively. That is what we call collaboration, coming together in this wonderful academic process. We can't deny the fact that, both teachers and students are on a journey. It's an academic journey, my dear friends. Well, that is exactly what is this collaborative technique aims at. It promotes deep learning. The moment the candidate or the student comes to know that teacher is there to help him or her, teacher is there to assist, teacher is there to facilitate, definitely it improves the confidence level, and he also succeeds in his interaction as well. Kindly allow, if possible, in parent-teachers meeting as well, if you talk to the parents comfortably, if you talk to the brothers and sisters, if you talk to his friends as well, that will really motivate him or her to a large extent. What is this integrative approach? Well, integrative means to integrate several other things, to mix, to blend. It's a sort of confluence, rather, blending ideas with experience. Very similar to constructive. We are not here just to give them concept after concept, theory after theory. But if I tell them something about solar eclipse, or if I tell them something about the space yarn or Chandrayaan, if they happen to see that on YouTube, or for that matter, if they happen to read the same on the newspapers as well, that will actually elevate their thought process. That is integrative learning. Next one is reflective. Whatever I teach, my dear friends, all my teaching concepts will one way or the other should reflect in me, in them also. Self-learning, evaluate, think. So reflection of whatever is taught, whatever is learned is at most desirable. I should never say something which I cannot do, rather. I mean, I'm saying that, it is really impossible to do whatever I say, but more often than not, most of the time, our efforts should be in that direction, rather. So before I being very didactic to others, before I preach something to my students, before I ask them to follow certain things, I myself will have to be very accommodative in nature. If somebody brings it to my notice, Mr. Sir, you're not doing that. Well, I should be flexible enough to, have that in my repertoire as well. The last one being inquiry based, where it's very, very usual, student centered and investigative approach. Whatever is asked by the student, if student needs something, and because I believe student centered approach has to be the order of the day. If student comes out with a doubt, with a question, with a dilemma for that matter, it is the objective, it is the ardent duty of the teacher to rectify the same as well. So, after, approaches to pedagogy, let me say thank you to all my dear friends over there. Thanks once again to the management of T. John College, for all my dear scholars there, and to all the participants there. And my thank you to one and all. Well, I would now, hand it over to my friends over there. Hope you have enjoyed this session. Thank you.
The speech was really molding our innovative and creative knowledge. Thanks for your insights into this most important topic that I know affects all of us here. Sir, I would like to pose some questions, sir.
Sure, I'm waiting.
Sir, nowadays we are teaching online. Communication skills is very important for this. So can you give any tips on how to ensure our communication is very effective and students are learning on the other end?
That's a very good question. In fact, a difficult question to answer, because I have been in such a situation as well, as I said, since 16, 17 months rather. But having said that, whether we are doing classes online or offline, one thing is for sure, my dear teachers, that we cannot fail with our own efforts, because we are using our own word power there. We can use any number of technical devices or gadgets there. But after all, a teacher is a teacher who teaches as well, using his or her communication skills. Wonderful, speaking skills, wonderful expressions for that matter, be it, a theory class, or for that matter, a science class or a economics class, whatever. So by establishing that wonderful rapport with the students, by taking into notice, by taking into consideration the needs of the students, definitely we can go a long way in making even online classes more successful. Well, I understand the limitations of the classroom, the limitations of the online sessions. Well, of course, now that I have completed my session, I was always under the fear that power could go off anytime in my house, because power going in my house is very, very normal. But thank God it didn't work that way. I am very glad that Bestcom people have shown great mercy on me. So we are at the mercy of different external factors while doing online sessions. So we should depend on our skills of communication, our skills of reading, our skills of presentation, our skills of speaking as well. And at times we need to allow students to speak rather.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really nice. I'd like to pose one more question. Sure. That is, for teaching literature, which pedagogical approach is ideal?
Well, as I said, you could have seen in my slide there, there are, pedagogical skills are many in number. There are even, I have just, made a list of some 5 there. But there are even more. Behavioral pedagogic methods are also there. There are scientific ways as well. It differs from person to person, from individual to individual. It depends on the requirement of your classroom as well. For example, somebody who is teaching in T. John College, in a BA classroom, may not find the same methods applicable in Vijaya Evening College BA classrooms. I hope you understand what I am trying to say. So T. John College BA classrooms or BSc classrooms or psychology classrooms are entirely different from the classrooms of other college, because the learners are different. They are from different background as well. So sometimes, depending on the situation, you can employ any of these methods. You can just narrate them the stories. You can just narrate your own experience. You can, if the students are very good in receiving, if they are very good there good in their intellectual ability, you can straight away give them enough time to have their own sessions of arguments, of debates as well. And that is how we need to have our own flexible ways of employing those methods. So I would not say there is a particular method which can be employed in making our pedagogy a successful one. As I said earlier, needs are different, situations are different, so places are entirely different, and the student community will always be different, my dear friends. Yeah. Sorry, madam, I am not able to hear you.
I, Dr. Geeta Bhatt, Professor, Assistant Professor, Languages Department, take immense pleasure in proposing this vote of thanks. First and foremost, I thank Professor Narasimhan for obliging us by accepting our invitation and giving us invaluable insights on effective communication and on developing communicative competence of an individual, and on how to empower our students and to allow them to look forward to a classroom which is ideal, real, and virtual. Your deliberations, sir, on the importance of the four fundamental skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, was enlightening indeed. I thank our esteemed chairman, Dr. Thomas T. John, our administrator, Mr. Roy M. Raju, our beloved principal, Sister Rose Mary Balappa, our IQAC coordinator, Professor Karthikeyan, and our convener of this FDP program, Dr. Felsi Judith, HODs of various disciplines, and all faculty members of T. John College for their unfailing support and cooperation. Last but not the least, my wholehearted thanks to all the participants for joining us today for this session of this 1 week FDP program. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Geeta Bhatt.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, madam. Shall I leave?
Sorry, sir. Asking to
Yes.